All right, there are a lot of signs that you might be headed toward an affair. Yikes. And you want to really look at these closely to make sure that you're protecting your relationship, your marriage, your partnership. And the big one I'm going to cover at the end. It's the probably most common one that I've seen in my 20 years working with couples and individuals around this issue. So number one is the obvious one, which is you're not having sex, or you're having sex extremely infrequently. And often this can start after you have kids. Couples start to drift a little bit sexually. And that's normal, but if they don't recover, then you're creating a gap, and add in some stress and travel and things like that. Not good. So if you're not sexually active, and that doesn't mean every day or once a week even, it just means that you have sort of avoided each other sexually, and it's gone on for a long time, you're creating a void that someone else might fill, all right? That's number one. Number two is your partner is coming home later and later, working more, and or traveling a lot for work. So it's really hard to keep tabs on them. And then you're going to sleep before them on a regular basis, and they don't get home from work till really late. That starts to create an environment that is like, wait a minute, do you really love your job that much? Or are you just, is the story like, well, I have to work, honey, I'm just working all the time now. So that can be a sign, not always. I know when my kids were young, I worked a lot. I was starting a business, and my wife would go to sleep and I would stay up and work. But that's a little different than staying out to work, right? At a quote job or something. I worked from home. So a third one is you don't share enough values or hobbies, and they get really passionate about a couple of new hobbies, and they're more interested in doing their hobby than hanging out with you. So it could be the gym, or it could be photography. It could be anything, dance. And they're obsessed with their new hobby, and they're very focused on it. And you're feeling like left out, maybe, or the third wheel. And it's couched in the hobby, and the hobby always happens somewhere else, and you're never invited, and it's not like a shared hobby or value. All right, that's a big one. The fourth one is really big, and then I'll cover the fifth one, which is the biggest. The fourth one is that you are not a team. You've stopped becoming a team, and you're not able to work through your conflicts. Okay, it's very normal in long-term relationships to have conflict. That's not abnormal, totally normal. But when they continue to go unresolved, right, and one or both people stop feeling seen and known in their experience, they go somewhere else to feel seen and known. And it could be a therapist or a coach. It could also be a coworker or an ex-girlfriend, an ex-boyfriend. It could be a friend. And so it's very, very important to affair-proof your relationship is to make sure that your partner feels seen, understood, and known by you. And when you have lots of unresolved conflicts, that gets very difficult. Conflict is an opportunity to get to know each other better and to be like, whoa, you're kind of triggering me, and wow, you act this way, and gosh, I don't know what to do with you. Let's stay curious and wonder, how are we going to work through this? How are we going to work through these challenges? So when you say no to conflict, you say no to challenge, you say no to being triggered, and you're like, I don't want to deal with this, you're shutting the door on knowing the other person and knowing yourself better. And that's shutting one door, and it's opening another door for other people, right? If my wife and I, let's say, have unresolved conflicts, and I feel like she doesn't get me and she never understands my experience, well, I'm going to go somewhere else because I want to feel understood. I want to feel known. So I might go to a therapist, coach, or a close friend. And if there's someone hot at work that is interested in, hey, what's wrong, Jason? I might start opening up to that person, and that starts opening the door to an emotional affair, right? Where I feel safe to be myself with someone else emotionally, a stranger or a coworker or something, but unsafe at home. That's a big problem, right? So keep an eye out for that. But the biggest one the fifth one here is the biggest one. And that is that the two of you have become disconnected. You've become disconnected. What do I mean by that? It means that you no longer feel a heart connection and just a vibe with your partner, right? You're like, man, we just feel good together. And the majority of the time you feel bad together. That's a sign that you're disconnected. And often disconnection happens with yourself, right? I'm disconnected from myself. And men, I've written a lot about this, men who are disconnected from themselves are very vulnerable to porn and a porn addiction or porn compulsion or just porn use. And that can feel like an affair, right? Is I'm having sex in my mind with another woman 5 days a week, and I'm not having sex with my female partner, for example. That's kind of feels like an affair. So it's highly, highly important and critical that you stay connected 80% of the time in your relationship. I just call it the 80-20 rule. 20% of the time in your relationship, it just kind of doesn't feel great. You're in conflict, you're disconnected, one of you is stressed or shut down, you're in a fight. That's normal. But you want it to be 20% of the time. And 80% of the time, you feel great. And if you're a smart couple, you will, if you don't learn how to resolve your conflicts, like I was saying earlier, that 20% will turn into 30, 40, 50, so that more than half the time you feel like you're at odds and you're disconnected and you're arguing, you can't be a team and you're not on the same page. It feels like they don't understand you. That's all bad, right? That's all a recipe for an affair or breakup or divorce. So your job is to stay as committed as you can fiercely together to staying connected 80% of the time. Because that's going to help you bulletproof your relationship from affairs, leaky energy, and all kinds of other shit that could come in. Okay, when you fall asleep in staying connected, you're opening the door, right? You're closing the door on connection here. You're opening another door to another person potentially coming in. So keep your eye on that. Work really hard to stay connected, and this won't be a problem for you. But if you're already disconnected, look for these 5 signs and do your very best to address it as soon as possible. And I'll record another video on how to address that, okay? Make sure you subscribe to my channel here. Thanks for being a subscriber. Share this with a friend perhaps that's going through some hard time. And see you soon.